Did you ever notice anytime you try to control anything, it doesn't work? Think about it. You can't control the people in your life. You can't control the weather. You can't control what people are going to do. You can't control how an outcome is going to work out. And no matter how much you try, you can't really control anything. Let's get real. What up, party people in the streets? Welcome back to the beach. I actually was going to show you alligators today. Today we may see alligators. The alligator park. It's not really called an alligator park, but alligators are there. It's so scary here. So scary. But there were no alligators. So I decided it was all creepy and mosquito-y and lots of lizards. Eek. That's a big bee. There's a lot of bees here though. Bee! Let's get out of here. Ah, they're huge. No alligators, just a lot of big bees. Well, there's alligators, but where they are at the moment, I can't tell you. Usually there's a lot of alligators and turtles here. That's not an alligator, right? Looks like one. Lots of strange noises going on. I decided I'd go to the beach instead. And I need to get this done before the sun goes down. It's so nice out here. It's like, I don't know what time, but it's awesome out right now. So I want you to think about something. We are creating our todays and tomorrows by the way that we think, feel, and act today. So what I'm experiencing today is a result of what I was feeling, thinking, acting before today. And tomorrow is going to be a result of the way you've been thinking, feeling, acting in past days as well. Days, months, years. With that point in mind, how could you possibly control today when today is a result of what you were thinking in past days? Now, there is something you can control, and it is something that would actually benefit your life, help your life, and make your life a lot better. But in general, how can you really control anything that's going to happen today if it's a result of your thoughts from yesterdays? When you think of it that way, it's pretty straightforward. You can't control it. Welcome to day 29. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today, is control and how it affects your life and what you should be doing instead. Have you ever heard the term go with the flow? That's like a real term, and it's like a real thing that you're better off doing in your everyday life. I'll tell you why. First of all, besides the point that you can't control anything, going with the flow, that is like the natural flow of the universe. So let's just talk about the universe in general. The planets, they flow through their patterns. The stars and the constellations are flowing through their pattern. Everything's flowing in the way that it flows. And now let's bring it down to Earth. We have the ocean, and today it's so pretty. Look how calm the waves are. It's a low tide, it's beautiful. But sometimes it's high tide and sometimes the water is crashing with waves. And low tide, high tide, full moon, new moon, winter, spring, summer, fall, everything has its natural flow. Even women with their menstrual cycle. How about women who are pregnant? How about puberty? All of these things, they show us that everything on this planet has a natural flow, and there's no going up against it. It's just like when you see flowers or trees or any kind of plant. They don't push to bloom, to get bigger faster than they're going to. They don't worry that their growth is going to happen or not happen. They just do it. It is what it is. It's a natural cycle. It's going to be what it's going to be. I think humans are the only ones on this planet that try to think that they can actually control something. When you look at where we live, the earth shows you over and over that everything has a cycle, everything has its system, and there is no control. It just does it. It just is. How in the world would anybody think that they can possibly control anything? Now, there's people out there that can try to control other people, and then there's people that allow people to control them. That's a different story, and that's a sad story. How about people who are fearful in relationships that try to control their partner? Where are you? Who are you with? What are you doing? Who are you thinking about? You don't love me. Why are you late? Where did you go to lunch? Who are you chatting with online? Who are those Facebook friends? You shouldn't be talking to him. You're married. Like all of these kind of silly things, really. What? You're going to go on a trip without me? Are you crazy? I'm your husband. I'm your wife. I should go with you. What? You're going to go with your friends and go do something without me? Why would you do that? We're married. Okay, so there's lots of people that do that kind of thing in relationships. Well, there's other people who actually trust their partners and realize the value of diversifying your relationship, as far as sometimes you need to do things without your partner for whatever reason. Maybe you want to just be with the guys. Maybe you just want to be with the girls. Maybe you just want to be by yourself. Maybe you just need that time to go take that class or go to that conference. And why do you have to check in with where you ate and who you spoke to and who you're chatting to? I mean, this is just all somebody stemming from fear and control. And you know, the more you try to control anyone, the more you're actually losing that person. Because what happens is that person starts telling you less about what they're thinking or what they're doing or who they're talking about, because they don't want to have to explain every time they do anything why and who and when. So you start losing part of that person that you think you're controlling. I can go into this for a long time, but this really wasn't about relationships, although for some reason I was guided to say that, so there must be somebody out there listening to this. But also, I just would talk about control in general. Anytime you're trying to control anything, like, do you have to have a set schedule and it has to go by that timing and it has to happen that way, and things need to line up a certain way, and I won't go, like some people that aren't spontaneous, or they don't want to go on trips, or they don't want to do anything out of the norm. They have their regular schedule and that's it. I'm sure you met people, if you ever worked in an office sort of atmosphere, there's usually always one person that never takes a vacation, and they have so much vacation that it's just like ridiculous. It's stacks and stacks and stacks and never go anywhere. They just go to work. They go to work and that's what they do. And then when they retire, they have nothing to do. They're bored. How can you be retired and bored? But there's a lot of people that are. And then those are the people that just kind of sit around and just let themselves do nothing till they die. And they just waste away. Most of the time it's because they put all of their energy into their work, or maybe it was their kids, and then they just never even kept up with any hobbies for themselves or anything like that. The point is, when you're too rigid about anything, you've got to stop and say, why am I being rigid about this? Why do my kids need to do things that way? Why does my husband need to do things that way? Why does my wife need to think that way? Why do these people need to be that way? Usually people who are controlling are also very judgmental, and they seem to think that everybody should be doing things a different way. Well, let me tell you something. I've already told you it's impossible to control anything, but I'm going to give you another example that I used, I think, yesterday in the video called Take Back Your Energy and Cut the Cords. I'll put the link in the description below if you want to watch that video. But it's like trying to control anything. Say you're holding water in your hand and it's the last water you have. So you're like, this is my last water. I don't want to lose this water. I'm going to hold on to this water. So you try to grip it and it pours right out of your hand. You can't hold on to it. Same thing happens when you're holding sand. You can't hold on to it. That's what you do every time you try to control something. So you don't want to frustrate yourself by getting into this habit of control, because it's never going to work that way. And I'll tell you today, I wasn't trying to control anything, but I was really annoyed today. It was just, I'm on this detox and it's just making me moody and stuff, but everything was really annoying and nothing seemed to be working the more I tried to get anything to work. One of those days. I knew I needed to just go chill out. I knew that I wasn't going to try to buck up against it or try to push up against it and try to make things work. If things weren't going to work all day, that's the way it was going to be today. Things were just not going to work all day, and that's okay. Yeah, it's frustrating, but you got to go with the flow. No matter what's going on in your life, whatever is being dished up that day, the best way to get through your day is to allow yourself to go with the flow. You might be feeling like you're getting tossed in the waves, but no matter what, the best way to get through it is just to go with the flow. If that means you just go in your room and cry for a minute, or you go lay down, or you just go for a walk at the beach, you do what you got to do just to allow it to pass through. Some days are going to be easier than other days. That's just the way it is. You're not going to be able to control everything in life, and the more you try to control anything, the more frustrated you will become. The more you try to control anything, the less you are going to have control of anything. That's just the way it works. So stop trying, and stop trying to control other people. Let people be who people are going to be, because that's why we came here. We came here to experience ourselves and all the aspects of ourselves. If you're trying to deaden any part of any person, including yourself, you need to stop doing that. You need to face it and realize you're doing it, and ask yourself what you're so afraid of about letting people be who they need to be. Now, of course, if they're harmful or unkind or doing anything disrespectful, that's a different subject. And I would say, if you're around people who do that, you need to pick new people to be around. Instead of trying to change those people or trying to get them to be nice people, just choose different people. You can't change people, but you can change yourself. And now I'm going to fill you in on the one thing you can control. So here it goes. This is the one thing you can control. You can control the way you think, the way you feel, the way you act, and the way you believe. When I say control how you think and believe, when you can choose to think more positively, when you can be more optimistic, when you can go with the flow, you're always going to be more even-keeled. You're always going to be more centered, which means your tomorrows are going to be a lot more centered, a lot more even-keeled, and a lot more happy. Because when you put out good energy, you bring good energy days back to you. That's the key. So if you're having days that are up and down and lousy and lousy and lousy, you got to ask yourself, how have I been thinking? What are my beliefs? What am I doing in my life to cause these days that just don't feel good? When it comes to other people, what am I doing to cause myself to be around these people that aren't very nice? And then you change it. You have complete control over who you're with and what you're going to think and what you're going to believe and how you live your day each day. But believe me, if you just allow yourself to go with the flow every day the best you can while being as positive and optimistic as you can, you are creating better and better days for your future. Like I said, just like for me today, it was one of those days. Yes, I felt upset because I just wasn't having a great day, but I didn't go around blasting everybody. I just pretty much wanted to go and figure out what I needed to do to make myself feel better. When I feel like that, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I want to feel good. I want to feel good. And I spoke about that in one of my videos early on in this 30 days called Get Up Out of Your Funk, and I'll put the description below. I want to feel good. And so I went in my room, I had a few tears, and then I felt irritated some more, and I put some things away, and then I said, you know what? Music. And I turned on my playlist and turned up my music really loud and shut my door, and I just went into a zone with my music. And I tell you, it wasn't even through one song, I was feeling better already. So you find things to help you feel better, to get you out of those funks, to get you back in a line with going with the flow. But even though I was feeling not great today, I still was going with the flow. You can still go with the flow when you're not having that great a day, and in fact you should. So I still was going with the flow, and I was still doing my best to do something to shift my mood to feel better. And I am. I'm feeling a lot better. And of course, being at the beach, it always shifts your attitude to feeling good, and that doesn't take long at all. So I hope this helped you, and I'll see you all tomorrow on day 30.